She's way different. She's a home by.
Okay, we'll call the public meeting to order at 7:00 PM and we'll rise for pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Move on to number 3, opening of the public hearing for ordinance 2025-01. Do we have anybody here making statements from the public? And we had nothing by email, correct?
Correct,
All right,
or in person.
nothing in person,
Or
perfect.
mail.
Nobody here for public comments. I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll second.
Motion a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Pose same sign. And meeting's adjourned. Now we'll call the council meeting to order at 7:01 PM. And we'll move on for item number 7, which is oath of office for our newest council member, Harrison DeBoer. It's time for your good old swearing in, sir. I got a copy for you. You can come around whichever way you choose. I'll have you raise your right hand and we'll have you repeat this because otherwise it gets to be a little tricky to read out loud. There you go. And I state your name and then you can continue reading.
I, Harrison DeBoer, do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and of the state of Minnesota, and that I will faithfully, justly, and impartially discharge the duties of the office of City Council Member, to which I have been elected for the city of Green Isle, in the county of Sibley, and the state of Minnesota, to the best of my judgment and ability. So help me God.
Congratulations. Welcome aboard. You might be even world famous in the newspaper, Harrison, because they had me write a brief intro for you. I don't know if that's a good thing yet. Could have said, nope, we're excited to have you. Okay, we'll move on to number 8, which is public comment period. Is anybody here for public comment? Nobody. All right, number 9, approval of the agenda. I do have a few other items. One's going to cover a request to put up a banner temporarily at Veterans Park, animal ordinance conversation, and just an update to the council on some recent park damages.
And I have an other, I just want to start touching on the roads.
Roads, perfect.
I have an item C under park board update, Lions Park picnic table estimate.
Excellent. Yeah, that sounds good.
There are extra copies of the agenda.
Don't have any.
Agendas, any copies?
There's none up there for you. We can grab you one.
So make a motion to approve the agenda with the addition of the others. I'll second.
A motion and a second. Any further discussion? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign, and that carries. I'm just gonna write this down for Dan for minutes really quick. Next up is approval of the consent agenda, items A and B. The March 11th, 2025 claims there is a number change on that from 39,421.11. It is actually $45,280.63. There's the motion in a second.
Do we do these together or are we gonna do them separate?
Those can be done. Were we missing anybody? I don't think we were.
Just, it was because it was just the 4 of us.
Yeah, Harrison can abstain from that one.
Okay. I still make a motion to approve the minutes from February 25th, 2025. And I also make a motion to approve the claims of March 11th, 2025, totaling $45,280.63.
Perfect. I will second that. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Opposed, same sign. Abstaining? Harrison. All right. We'll move on to number 11, City Attorney Ken Jansen.
Hey, I think I got two things to update on. So we got the continuing claim with Advantage that dates back to the hail bidding, back to last spring into the summer. So I've had ongoing meetings with counsel provided by the League of Minnesota Cities. At the, I think last month's meeting, I had updated that we were, I think at that point, we had just received essentially an offer to resolve the claim, and that was, I believe that was about $160,000 they wanted from us.
Yep.
And in talking with the league appointed counsel, she doesn't believe there's much of any merit to their claims. Now, so at that point, the council had elected to decline that, and we didn't provide any sort of counter offer. I think that our thinking was if we were gonna settle this, it was gonna be at not even a fraction of that, so there wasn't much point in coming back with anything. I didn't think that'd be conducive to much. So that was, we had a meeting, myself, representative from the League of Minnesota Cities, as well as the council that's been appointed. That was last week, just kind of discussing our options. The council had responded to Advantage, let them know that we had declined that offer, that we were not going to provide a counter offer at this point. And just today, it sounds like they have indicated that they will be filing a claim against the cities or against the city. So we'll see what comes about of that, but the league, they are going to be paying for the representation of the city. I think it's definitely worth, taking into consideration. So while our policy with the league does cover our representation, so all the attorney's fees and whether we settle this out, whether we go through trial, they're going to be covered by the league. Any settlement, if we come to something, or if we're told by the court we got to pay, that's going to be falling on the city. Now, what sort of skin do we got in the game? Well, according to Advantage, I think we're in for about $200,000. Now, in doing my research, as well as the league appointed attorney, the exposure is far less than that. In reality, I don't think it's out of the question that we could come to some sort of resolution still. Just because they're filing a claim doesn't mean that this is going to trial. Most, I'd say 90% of these sort of cases will go through mediations and things of that nature. And hopefully we can come out with some sort of mutual resolution that's palatable for everybody. But in talking with the league representatives, they got skin in the game too. They're representing us in this, and they want to keep costs down as best they can, so that they've indicated that in an effort to get this wrapped up, they'll certainly pitch in and try to work this out as well. But I think we're a long ways from that. Like I said, the Advantage are coming in at a number that seems a little astronomical at this point to even be working with. So that's a little frustrating and difficult to deal with that. So that's where we're at on that. I'll certainly keep everybody updated on that.
Ken, what is their argument about it? I mean, what did we, maybe I'm lost in this, what did we do wrong as the city here and why they're establishing this claim? I mean,
well, what they're saying is, so we opened up the original bidding for the hail damage. That was back, I believe it was May of last year, or maybe April. And ultimately, we went through that initial bidding process. Advantage, we considered that their initial bid, initially approved it. And then they're taking that as an accepted contract for this $1.2 million. Now, after that, we had future discussions with the league, and ultimately, we chose to go a different route. Now, there were no contracts that were written contracts that were entered into. We never signed anything. There were no
Yeah.
bonds. There was nothing of that nature. So ultimately, we ended up going through a second round of bidding and ultimately went that route. So they're saying that that's essentially their lost profits that they would have made off of this contract that this city supposedly entered into with them.
So then really they're out of the picture at this point. If they're suing us for something, do we have to reopen it? For a bid then? I mean, do they have the bid anymore?
We've
Well,
already reopened it.
It was already
I'm
opened.
saying, but that is,
So that's essentially their claim, is that it was already awarded to them. Now we've gone another route there.
Right.
So, but like I said, they haven't even filed anything in court. They haven't served us with anything, so we approved service upon the attorney, so the league appointed attorney, so if she gets anything, she'll certainly notify us. And then that'll kind of get the ball rolling on everything. But I'll keep everybody
Sure.
up to date on it, and we'll continue down that path. Any other questions on that?
I guess, how long do things like this typically drag out?
It's gonna be a while. This thing's not gonna be done tonight or even next week or even next month. It's already been going now for
Approaching a year already.
a while. So essentially, once they file in court, I would suspect that initial dates are probably a month after that, and then court's gonna make us go through mediation, discovery. Typically in these civil cases, if we went that whole route, we're talking sometime next year. Like maybe late this year, but I wouldn't hold my breath.
Okay.
But I think we'll know a heck of a lot more once they do file, and then we'd start getting dates and things with the court, so. Any other questions? Okay. Now, the other area that wanted to bring up tonight, had been working with Amy in the EDA. So the city currently owns 4 industrial lots, and that we briefly discussed it at the last council meeting that I attended. So we have the 4 industrial lots that are city owned. There's a couple that are owned by the EDA. So in order to go through the policy and use the incentives that we want to use with these lots, we got to transfer the city lots over to the EDA so that they can go through all these policies and go through the incentives, development agreements, and that sort of thing. Which is what I understand we're trying to do here. The city, as a city, doesn't really have that authority statutorily to do that. So that's kind of the purpose of the EDA. So there's 4 industrial lots. I have put together some quick claim deeds,
Perfect.
and I'll be passing those along to Amy. And I think that's gonna be the easiest, most efficient way to get that done. Once all that's ready to roll, I think at the next council meeting. I think we'll have to pass a resolution, directing that we're okay to go on this to transfer these city lots to the EDA.
Which 4 lots are they?
They are. Therefore,
I can pull them up
EDA
for
already
you.
has the center one, right? The one they call the island or whatever. Does the EDA have that one already, or is it?
I'll pull it up for us here. We can, take a quick gander.
And I got the PID numbers that we got.
I don't know what that is.
Parcel
I'll
ID.
show you, we'll.
It's the parcel number. Alright. Let me pull this up for those viewing remote here. All right. Yes, I agree. All right, what do you got for a parcel, Ken? We'll just get zoomed in here.
Yeah, so the first one's gonna be 34.0158. Period 080.
Perfect.
Okay. So it's
There we are.
from behind JIT.
Yep, so it's that one and then right down, so that one, so 0.07
Okay,
and then 0.06.
Nope, not that one. Are we north yet?
So, yeah, kind
Is
of
it
the
just
three going down and then the one right across the street. That 0.01,
Where's that?
right to the south, to the,
Oh, I'm sorry.
up, over to the east.
This one.
Yeah, right.
There we go.
okay, so that is the center,
Yep.
Center Island one, okay,
So center, this one's,
One by John,
This one.
this way.
okay,
Yeah, so it'd be the 4 total lots, kind of right in that area right there.
all right, thank you.
And then I think that there were some discussions on that 34, that 0.08, which is adjacent to that business right on the north end there.
Oh, the north end,
I think there was discussion about whether or not there was a right to first refusal.
okay,
And
sure,
so it's my understanding that the possessor of that, he recently passed away. So that's no longer a concern that we gotta deal with on that particular property for a right of first refusal.
okay, so that can be sold to the next, okay.
And I understand that Amy's been talking to at least one potential buyer, working something out.
Yeah, because I think time was pretty much of the essence with that. I mean, he's interested in purchasing it, bringing three jobs eventually, not requesting a TIF. So all of those things seem pretty palatable to the EDA from what it sounds like. So it was just in limbo pending that 30-day notice, if that was necessary or not. Which is unfortunate because, yeah, I think that, yeah, it's interesting because it was registered to that person as the first right of refusal upon contracting between JIT and the EDA. So, yeah, there was nothing set forth in an estate, doesn't indicate anything as such in the writing of the contract. So since he passed, it's kind of null and void is what I'm getting, right?
Yeah, nothing we could find, doesn't look like there's any right of survivorship that's gonna
Okay.
pass along in the estate, so I think we're good to go forward.
Perfect.
Yeah, but I think those are the two things that I've been working on here. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Any other questions for City Attorney Jansen? And we'll move on for 12 school update. I do have a little one here. I received a message this morning that there has been no updates from the bank, but Sue is going to reach out to Tyler on that appraisal update because I don't think they've heard back. Taylor, yeah. So that's the most recent. So we are still in limbo. The bank has not heard anything from appraiser. Taylor is, he is on vacation, so she will let us know something as soon as she knows more. That's where we sit. So I assume we're at that point now of hopefully by next meeting, we have an update. If not, are there any options available to us is how I see it. Because I'd like to at least sit down and begin the process of negotiations.
Yeah, I think it's. Yeah, the school issue's been dragging on now for months. And we don't seem to be getting any further with it. It would sure be. You know, if we can at least come to the table and start some negotiating back and forth, try to at least get out on the baseball field property. And
Right,
I know that that property, it kind of goes into, I think, the parking lot or a portion of the school.
portion of the gym.
So we might have to, we're gonna have to get a little creative on it and see,
Mhm.
you know, what the
That's gonna have
banks.
to get more accurate, the way that reads. I mean, them lines.
Well, I think we'll have to, no matter what, is have that,
Survey it. some-
Surveyed.
Yeah,
so.
so there'll be a couple things to do on that, and it's not gonna be easy, but we can get the ball rolling.
Well, and perhaps I reach out to Amy to see if she can contact the bank and see if they're interested in getting something started at least, so that they know that we want to get this moving along instead of waiting for an appraisal at this point. Cause I think it's been, correct me if I'm wrong, over 2 months since we've had ours completed. Seems about
Mhm.
right.
Yeah.
So, and ours was pretty easy to find. We had 3 bids, pop, 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 just like that for somebody willing to do it. So more to come. Hopefully we'll hear an update and at least sit down once would be ideal. So more to come on that one. Let's see, and ordinance 2025-01 truck route. First reading, do we need to table that with Amy being ill?
We should be able to.
We can go forward with it.
Mhm.
Okay.
So that this next meeting is the second.
That way we're all
meeting, and then
set,
the
right?
Resolutions, yes.
Okay.
You have it on your phone.
I might, let me double check here. Send that. Just checking my emails to see if I have it. There it is. Is that 02?
Ordinance,
Ordinance
01.
Regulating the use and storage of large motor, no, that's a different one. Two, single one. For some reason. Double two. That's the O2 is parking of large vehicles. That's the use and storage of large motor vehicles in residential. Apologize for the wait here. 1 second.
I have a draft of it. I just don't know if it's the most up to date or not.
Yeah, we had, with the new computer, we had some scanning and printing issues earlier that we just resolved, so. I don't think anything changed with the truck one. What date do you have for yours, Hunter?
February 14th
Okay,
was the draft we reviewed at the planning and zoning special meeting.
perfect. And your tonnage 469,
Just
Is it-
4.6.
46, and then we got the 9 ton per axle weight restriction that was eliminated back last year. Okay. And then what street classifications? Oh, we'll know if we're on the right one.
There's 4-ton and 6-ton. You want this specific streets?
Yeah, does it list out any 9 ton axle weight limit on any streets? Perfect. That is the one. Can I steal that one from you?
Yeah, I don't wanna read it. Again.
Yeah, Hunter's got it here.
Wants the O2 read as well at this meeting. That was in an email.
Yep, I have that one.
Yep,
That's for the
Okay,
truck parking.
perfect.
All right. So first reading the ordinance 2025-01, section 1 covers the purpose that we hereby ordains. The axle weight limits are restricted on city streets to protect these streets from damage in accordance with Minnesota State Statutes, chapter 169.87. The weight restrictions, the following axle weight limits will be number one is 4 ton per axle weight restrictions and 6 ton per axle weight restrictions. They may be imposed when road and weather conditions warrant protection of city streets. And of course, street classification will be 4 ton to Cleveland Avenue, Western Avenue between 1st and 5th Streets. And our 6 ton axle weight limit streets are all the other streets in Green Isle. And section 4 notification, impacted streets will be clearly signposted with weight limit restrictions. Exemptions are the following: emergency response vehicles, school buses, emergency utility repair vehicles, commercial entities with pre-approved temporary road restriction variance permit, refuse collection, and they may exceed posted limits with a maximum gross weight of 7 tons on any single axle in accordance with Minnesota state statutes. Utilities when responding to emergencies, septic and well service exempted for emergency response, which includes septic or sewer system failures, well failures, resulting in water supply loss and lack of heating fuel. And other commercial purposes, a case-by-case exemptions available through a temporary road restriction variance permit. And the emergency response process will be to notify City Hall, provide emergency description, location, number and weight of responding vehicles, and the proposed route. And of course, the city reserves the right to request supporting documentation and limits travel to the minimum distance necessary. And for penalties, violations are subject to civil penalties under Minnesota Statute 169.871, road damage reimbursement per Minnesota Statute 169.88, and potential criminal misdemeanor charges. This ordinance shall take effect upon its passage and publication. And so that would conclude our first reading of the ordinance. That one goes to Hunter, thank you.
And that basically because the change in Western got, beefed up for a road, so we gotta go to a higher tonnage.
Yep. Perfect. Next up. Our reading for ordinance 2025-02. Which is an ordinance of the city of Green Isle regulating the use and storage of large motor vehicles in residential districts. So city of Green Isle hereby ordains that the presidents in residential neighborhoods of excessively large motor vehicles and certain motor vehicles that by their design type or characteristics have a detrimental and blighting impact upon such residential quality and character of such neighborhoods. The Green Isle City Council also finds that these vehicles intrude upon the aesthetics and visual peace and quiet of a residential neighborhood and can impair free flow of traffic on residential streets, and by the size are detrimental to residential traffic safety. That they often create excessive noise for such surroundings, that their presence tends to encourage uses that are inappropriate in residential areas, and their presence therefore is likely to have a negative impact upon residential property values. For similar reason, the Green Isle City Council finds that parking and storage of, as well as maintenance, repair work done to large vehicles and trailers also has detrimental and blighting impact on residential areas. And they also have a negative impact on the useful life of city streets. So therefore, the purpose of this ordinance is to prohibit or restrict in residential districts the parking or storage of vehicles and trailers that by their virtue of our excessive size or by virtue of their design type or characteristics are incompatible with such districts and thereby reduce the blighting and negative impacts of such vehicles and trailers in these districts. For truck parking, it is unlawful to park a semi-trailer, truck, tractor, or combination thereof, or any vehicle designed, used, or maintained for towing other motor vehicles or equipment upon any street, alley, private road, parking lot, driveway, or upon any public or private property which is within an area zoned as residential district for any amount of time. Exceptions are aforementioned vehicles are exempt from the restrictions only for the purpose of loading or unloading the same within a short and reasonable amount of time. Regularly scheduled delivery service vehicles, so delivery vans, emergency vehicles, school buses are exempt from those restrictions. And they are still not allowed to occupy residential space for more than a short and reasonable amount of time. For other, if any section, subsection, sentence, clause, or phrase of this ordinance is for any reason held to be invalid, such decision shall not affect by the validity of the remaining portions of this ordinance. All ordinances herefore in force and effect and inconsistent with the provisions hereof are hereby repealed to the extent that they are altered by this ordinance. And the presence of any vehicle on any street when standing or parked in violation of this ordinance is prima facie evidence that the registered owner of the vehicle committed or authorized the commission of the violation. Penalties for this is by a fine of not more than $1,000 and or imprisonment not to exceed 30 days. And the attempt to conceal violations of this ordinance will not be tolerated. An effective date of this ordinance shall become effective upon adoption and publication by the city council. And this ordinance will prohibit parking of semi-trailers, truck tractors, and towing vehicles in residential areas, except for the exception of loading, unloading, and of course, it establishes said penalties. And that would conclude our first reading for that on March 11th. That's my phone. There we go. Any questions on the first reading of each?
I got one on the one you just read.
Yes, sir.
So the tractor trailer, I get that not parking on the street, but I believe in there was something about their driveway. So if the owner of the tractor trailer parks the trailer somewhere else, but puts the tractor in his driveway, he can't even park it in his own driveway? Is that how that was
I
read?
was reading it as the trailer itself.
I'm just curious.
Nope, that's a great question. Pull it back up. Ken, did you have any concerns on any of that too?
I was just
You're
wondering.
just saying specifically tractor.
Yeah. Cause I think it was about halfway through or so, something like that is what I think you
Are we
said.
talking about does a tractor meet road restrictions by itself?
By itself, it does.
Okay.
But I was just, cause most of their driveways are long enough for them just to back the whole thing up in their driveway. That's why I was kind of curious on, he can't even back it on his own driveway if it's his own tractor or.
Yeah, because it prohibits parking of semi-trailers, truck tractors, and towing vehicles in residential areas. So I think that would be an exception.
Okay,
It is unlawful to park a semi-trailer, truck, tractor, or combination thereof, or any vehicle designed, used, or maintained for towing other motor vehicles or equipment upon any street, alley, private road, parking lot, driveway, or upon any public or private property which is within an area zoned as residential district.
so yeah, right there, even if you own it, you can't even park it in your own driveway. I'm just,
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, and that's why we, of course, want these readings to come out so we can fine tune it as we need to.
personally, I don't like that idea. I get it, but I personally don't like it. So,
Why would you though? Why wouldn't anybody want to put that weight on your driveway to begin with?
well, that's their fault. If they want to do it and wreck their driveway, that's on them. I get it. So I just was wondering.
And so your question has been answered. Do you have any sort of language change that you would propose while we're in our first reading?
I would just say they're parking it on their own personal property on their driveway at their own risk of ruining their driveway, really. I don't have a problem with it. Because a lot of guys, owner operators, they keep them things pretty spotless. So myself, I don't find it as an eyesore seeing it parked somewhere. Because 99% of them are spick and span spotless when they take them home and park them, because they usually take them home and wash them during the weekend, so.
And unfortunately, ordinances are always developed for the 1%.
Yeah.
That's the challenging part that I do struggle with. And I totally understand what you're saying you'd have a tractor trailer combo or
Yeah, I get not
trailer
parking that.
or tractor, not on the street, but you're proposing to eliminate that from the driveway.
Yeah, cause you're,
I don't know, I guess just bag again.
it's,
I know I've seen in some cities where, the tractor or the trailer sits out in somebody's yard
Yes,
or
yep.
their driveway for
we
2 years.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden it becomes an issue.
I've seen a lot of them where they take the truck and trailer home, they park it in their yard, they wash it, cause they bring it home to wash it at home
Mhm.
instead of washing it wherever. And some guys, then you don't see the trailer again for another month until they bring it home again to wash the thing. And a lot of them
That would
are,
be your temporary clause in there.
a lot of them are just the end dumps. They don't bring like a reefer trailer or the flatbeds or anything like that that I've seen people do. I just see the end dumps and stuff. So that's a question I know some people are gonna bring up too.
A lot of it comes from that reasonable amount of time, which we'd of course refer to Ken as to what constitutes a reasonable amount of time. I mean, that varies between situations. I'm not one for enforcing a time limit because who's always there to enforce that time? Then you have to chalk the tires and do all of that to prove it.
Cause I know we got that issue with the guy on the other side of town. That's why
Yeah.
if something comes up with that and if you don't,
Right.
you have to park it in your driveway. It's,
And you know, in Green Isle, we have plenty of areas, and I know we've worked with tractor trailer owners as to where they can legally park, and we've been pretty good about that. It's just keeping them out from running all night in residential areas, and I know a lot of them just want to get home because it's a heck of a job to have. It's a hard job to have, and so I just want to make sure we're fair to everybody as much as we possibly can be here.
It's back to that one particular incident where someone sees it for a while, and I thought we had an ordinance for that.
Mhm.
Well, not really for this guy because he could. He just.
that's why I don't wanna make it vague. I wanna try to get something.
And I think you're right, though. It's good to discuss, because I think that would cover it. If you're working and you come home, you need to wash your vehicle and you've got it on the driveway. You wash it, reasonable amount of time, right? Then you get that thing out of there.
Then I have the problem if you're washing it on the street, if you're a side dump or something like that, it's gonna have gravel, mud, name it, that is on the street.
Well, then that's different than just
Yeah.
washing the tractor on the driveway.
And I can certainly try to pull a couple ordinances from around our neighboring communities.
That'd be great.
I would ask
So
you to
everybody can
pull
look at
one,
them.
Yeah, just kind of get some different options that are out
ask you to
there.
pull one out of Cocato, cause that's. Sister-in-law lives in Cocato, and I know the guy across the street drives his tractor home and he washes it at home, and once in a great while, he brings his end-up trailer home and he'll wash it or do some type of maintenance on it. So if you pull it from there, and then that'll give me a better idea what they are allowing too.
Yeah, I'll see what I can find. I'll check out Cocato and I'll check out a couple of the other communities around here. And at least that'll give us a little bit of different flavors that
Mhm.
we can look at and see what we want.
And I bet both communities are probably worse than we are as far allowing anything. You know, just.
Some are.
Yeah.
Excellent. So we've done our first readings, 2025-01, 2025-02. Move on to number 14, EDA Planning and Zoning Tree Committee updates. EDA was come with the annual report. Was she gonna wait on that? Yep, she wants to wait on that. I didn't know if she emailed you one. So we will table that one for the next meeting when she's present. Same would apply for the P and Z 2024 annual report. And moving to number 15, Park Board update. We'll start with Hunter leading the way on A, B, and C.
All right, starting with the Easter egg hunt. Like I mentioned at our last meeting that's scheduled for Saturday, April 12th. Plan to host it at the Irish Field in their pavilion area there. Hopefully we get nice weather. We're gonna have registration start at 10:30 and then the hunt will start at 11 a.m. And then we're currently working on preparing flyers and marketing materials for that to make sure we get a good turnout. Additionally, we have some volunteers meeting the Wednesday before that, April 9th, to prepare all of our materials and prizes for the Easter egg hunt.
Nice. So it'll be at the pavilion, April 12th, register at 10:30 right there, and then hunts at 11.
Correct.
Perfect. And then are they like doing the hunt out, are they hitting up the baseball field or anywhere else, or is it all in that immediate area?
It has to be outside of the baseball field. So it's gonna be, I don't know, we're gonna have to wait and see how the weather is to
Yeah.
determine the specific areas, but under the pavilion in the grassy areas around there,
Okay,
potentially up by the park.
okay. Yeah, because I had a couple people from the park board ask me about that, and I just wanted to double check with the council. Should children want to run on the baseball field, that's entirely allowed, is it not? It's a city park, correct?
Park, you know.
I haven't heard anything else.
city park, but if the weather's bad.
Yeah, I don't want mud ripping up anything, no,
I don't
no.
want 'em
I think the
running
park
in
board
field.
can make that call, but if there's room out there, yeah. I mean, I don't know why that's a thing. Obviously, we don't want damage to the park itself. They take really good care of it, but I think kids can play on there, cause you know they're going to come the Easter egg hunt, so I don't know how that stopped. I know Joe, do you have any comment on that?
I'd like it if it's dry.
Right, that's what I was thinking too. I'm like, I get it when it's wet.
We did a pretty big project last fall,
Yeah.
but there's some bare spots yet
Is there?
in
Okay,
the outfield.
okay.
And, you know, the seed's not gonna be germinated by April 12th.
No, that's good to know.
If it's
'Cause I
dry,
mean,
it's fine,
yeah.
but if
that's
it's
good.
like this,
That's where I was going back and forth. I'm like, well, I get it if it's muddy and wet. I mean, I would hope that people try to keep their kids out of there and just not get full of mud. So we'll just keep an eye on the ball field and where it's dry. Oh, that's
Okay.
good to know. Perfect. So I think there's a lot of space for them to run otherwise. For the
otherwise it might be a matter of 10 minutes of groundskeeping when it's done.
Yeah,
You
it's
know,
just if
to
it's
rake
muddy.
in some spots level
Yeah.
and stuff like that.
Okay,
Mhm.
okay. I just wanted to double check, because I was like, I didn't hear any of it being shut down for anything unless there was like seed being planted or something, but no, that's good to know.
Common sense.
Yep, appreciate it.
Yeah, okay.
Well, it is. I mean, you're not gonna go into some wet. That's,
One would hope not.
you don't not, you know.
All right, next item then is the Lions Park stairway improvement. If you look at the last two pages of our packet, you'll see a proposal from Voss Construction, followed by a proposal from LaRose Home Services. And these two proposals are specifically to repair and paint the staircase at the Lions Park. So if you take a look, Voss Construction provided a good, better, best kind of approach to this. With differing price tags and the levels of repair that they're willing to do. And then compared to the LaRose Home Services bid. With just scuffing, sanding, painting, and some basic repair. So we were kind of struggled to look at these, so we're obviously gonna dig a little further into these. We plan to meet with, some of us plan to meet with Mike Voss to go through the proposals or the ideas he's proposing at the park, so we can get a better idea of kind of the damage he's referring to in here. And then I believe LaRose Home Services was also gonna take a second look, make sure they didn't miss any damage
Mhm.
that needs to be repaired.
Well, that lower bid scares me every time. Cause you know, I mean, you can have just a regular paint over, you know, for $500, you're not gonna get a lot.
Well, and the two differences I think are, I had to look it up too, is one does this as handyman services versus the other contractor, I mean, bigger business. But I do like that sandblasting's included in the Voss bid. Same time scuffing and sanding everything off too is pretty ideal if it's gonna be outdoors.
Did you look at OEM if they would have done something like this to repair and replace?
I think they would replace a handrail. I don't know if they do any repairs.
I would
to
almost
the paint.
imagine that OEM would be involved with Ross's bid.
Right, that's kind of, yeah,
I would believe it. I'm not saying for sure, but
but that's a good point, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a lot
a lot of money
options.
to it, but again, in this one of the things, you've got to have it knocked out of the park. Otherwise, we'll be revisited here another couple of years of.
Say we made it, I think those were installed in 05, between 05, 08. So I mean,
20 years old about.
they've lasted quite a while. And that's just the railings, because I think the steps are all galvanized. So.
Yeah.
More to come on.
Price in over 20 years, I mean, the
Yeah.
$9,000 to
Right.
revisit again, I mean, wow, it's not. Anyway.
Yeah, more to come.
Perfect.
All right, and then the Lions Park picnic table estimate, which is the third from last page in our packet. This is the bid we had to kind of repair and paint make the picnic tables look nice again that are down at the Lions Park. This was also from LaRose Home Services. So you see hourly rate there, materials and paint. The park board did vote to recommend that council approve spending up to $950 to accept this bid. With the call out that we may or may not get free paint for this project through a grant through the SMIF. That's giving free paint to cities for specific projects.
I got a question for you.
Yes.
Just because Riley's on the National Honor Society now and he has to donate some time, I would see if it's possible, I could possibly see if he wants to donate his time to paint them, not to repair them, but to possibly paint them to go towards his hours he has to do for the years. So I can look into that for
See
you.
if they're willing to help too, or even if you,
That's a good question. I forgot to mention that on the previous bids as well. We are anticipating some amount of donated labor.
right,
So the actual labor hours might be less than this,
Mhm.
but that the plan is to accept volunteer help.
oh, and then just up to so that you don't exceed that pricing, so it could be
Right.
less, right, with
Yeah,
the
up to.
volunteered labor, so that might work for you, John.
So then on that note, make a motion to approve the up to $950 estimate for the picnic table repair. And paint possibly, however that will work out.
You're saying it'll be less. because
Yeah,
they're
But
volunteers.
yeah, up to $950.
I'll second.
Motion is second. Any further discussion on the topic? All right, all those in favor say aye. Aye, pose same sign. And that carries.
Awesome. And that's all I had for park board updates.
Excellent. Good work. There's a lot going on. I'm excited for the Easter egg hunt too. It's always a hit with the kids. And then you'll have somebody there keeping tally of how many attendees we have. That's always neat to hear every year. So I think good to see. And then number 16, hail damage repairs. Here we go. Did
There's
you-
an email.
Yes, I've got it.
Okay.
Did everybody get a chance to look at said email?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. So
And,
I'll let our city attorney have the floor after he's proves it a little bit here too.
Yeah, so this kind of ties into our advantage stuff, what kind of got us here. So it was so we already approved the bid for the roof, wall, window, hail damage repairs.
Yes.
So we already awarded that contract to Exteriors by Highmark, so that was back in October. So
And awarded Kilmer Electrical on November 12th for the lighting too. Paragraph 2 there.
yeah. So I guess this kind of, has Kilmore, have they provided us any contracts?
No contracts delivered and signed as of date from Paulson at Stantec. So I think they're just holding off on sending said contract over, is what I gather, pending our discussion tonight as to what we want to do.
Okay. Yeah, cause I guess I wouldn't have been at this November 12th one. I certainly remember this October 12th. I thought we were holding off on this November or on the baseball field.
Yeah,
lighting
we are, and I think what happened is our engineer and bidding firm, the Stantec, they knew about that and they postponed sending any sort of agreement to Kilmer to finish up and get signed before it hits our plate for you to review, pending our decision. So it was still postponed by the looks of it. Maybe we didn't approve, we made a motion to table it.
And that's what I recall. I don't recall us
Yeah.
approving it.
Stantec could just have the language a little different on here. Because we were waiting on some guidance from this Advantage situation, so.
And that's when everything was kind of coming down from
Mhm.
Advantage and we were working with the League of Minnesota Cities. And so I remember we had, at least at one of the council meetings that I attended, we had tabled it. So I don't know if it was re-brought up at a different one that I,
No, you didn't miss anything, because it looks on here, prior to sending the contracts to Kilmer, they were informed of the claim. With Advantage was when we called and said, hey, hold off, we're not moving forward with anything in LMC regarding the bid submission for the hail damage repairs.
so and I've had discussions with the council that's been provided by the League of Minnesota Cities on the Advantage stuff. And they haven't provided us much guidance on, whether or not we should continue on with these other bids. It sure didn't seem like continuing on would have an impact one way or the other on this claim from Advantage at this point. And so, and that, I believe that's what we had previously discussed back in October when we had awarded the hail damage, the general one, the roof, walls, window, exterior stuff. And then we have the concerns with the baseball field lighting. I guess just with everything going on at Advantage, as well as everything going on with the bank. So that was kind of the double whammy. We're trying to figure all this stuff out before we enter into these big contracts when we don't know for certain, I guess. Likely, we're gonna get this all figured out with the baseball field. I guess worst case scenario or not, and we don't know, but there's things to figure out over there.
Yeah, and my opinion with it too, it's if we do this, and let's say, God forbid, something happens with the field, at the end of the day, it's our insurance, it's insured. And so insurance is covering that piece of the lighting. We're gonna save space on it. We're gonna save some electricity bills out of it being LED. I mean, that's incredibly important, and they're a heck of a lot better. So it's a win for the city to just use it and move on with it, because we know this is gonna be a while.
And it would actually improve the value of the property a little bit then too.
Yeah, but we probably don't want that yet. And
Well, we might not have a choice in the matter.
no, and as far as the value of the property, to me, as far as I look at it, it's a park, and rezoning it other than a park is slim to none that the city or park, anybody would want to rezone it as such to become an industrial metropolis of sorts, or a commercial property. Is just not going to happen. It's a park. It's half a park. Furthermore, the lighting itself, I think we went forth with those other bids because time is of the essence. We're a city. We have to keep our municipality running. And if we have hail damage to stuff and you have leaks and it's just going to become more costly and require more repair, therefore more money. And so if we sit on this pending a lawsuit, we're not really doing anybody a favor, to be honest. And to me, I think the same would apply with the lights. It's the baseball season's coming up. They're going to be utilizing lights. There's damage to the lights, and we could cause further damage if we continue to operate them as they are. So I guess depending on our city attorney recommendations, but even with LMC, you could or you couldn't, it's up to you guys. But at this rate, I really don't think that there's a claim for Advantage still to this day. I'm no attorney, but we followed everything we could to a T. And I'd like to just get it done.
And I think my bigger concern at this point is essentially the bank could foreclose on that.
Yep.
And we're entering into a contract on that property and essentially doing the work for the bank to use it against us.
Correct. Yep.
It's very.
So
So basically, the bank is in my eyes, the bank is basically dragging their feet. Because if we got our appraisals back that fast, I don't understand why it's taking the bank.
Well, foreclosure can take a very long time as well. I know that we had requested some time constraints with this bid itself to have them complete the work in a certain amount of time, which would likely be done prior to the foreclosure taking effect. So there's that, but yeah, it's something we have to decide because City Attorney Jansen's right. We're technically providing more value to the land, but we're also not benefiting people that use that park by sitting it in limbo here with damaged lights. So right? It's the conundrum, yeah.
It's a tough thing, you know, I look at it, it's. It's an odd position because I look at it, you know, like, you know, we're about to foreclose on our house. Now we're gonna put a new roof on it for the bank to take
Right,
it.
right. Yeah,
But the lights, I think that. I believe that's gotta happen. I just believe we gotta get that done.
and just keep that in mind, depending on what we want to do. I mean, just keep in mind that it could impact negotiations some, but I don't think much. But that's always a factor. However, damage occurred to them, it's insured. We have a bid in place, and at the same time, we wouldn't be a good ward of the dollar if we wait for another bid, because if it's like everything else under the sun, it's going up in price.
And they're standing on this,
Well,
For now,
till spring, and we're in
Yeah, well-
spring, so,
I'm saying.
yeah. And it's, yeah, I just feel that we're not doing our public interest if we don't just get this part done. I totally understand where our city attorney's coming from too, because it's a challenging one. But I'd hate to continue to hold the bids at this moment in time.
Maybe we want to bid this use.
Mayor, could I ask a question? Shane, could I ask you a question? Is there a time limit from the time of this event, the storm, which will be 2 months, 2 years in October,
Hmm?
to have the work completed?
No.
Is there a stipulation about that at all?
No, we
Okay.
discussed that as part, no, it's a great question.
That's a good
Yeah, we did bring that up as part of our meeting with the league, and we reported the instance, and there's due to situations like this, we're not the only one that's had to go through stuff like this, where, yeah, there's contractors that are waiting to do work 3 to 4 years out. But yeah, we literally have everything ready. We hired a company to go out and finish, an engineer to finish these bids, architect to look at what's necessary, what we need. And we're really in this strange limbo stage. And I wouldn't even entertain that as part of negotiations on the city side. That these lights are going to increase a settlement from the city, how much the city's gonna pay in exchange of this deed in lieu of foreclosure. I think that can be argued. I think it can be argued. Yeah, so
What parts? Can you go revisit the estimated price and the areas that we're confident that could be done on it, buy some time as far as. Like the roof of that school, it's not like it's leaking to my knowledge, I mean. Can we do that, separate it into that bid again and, or if they have accepted to do just, that way we're guaranteed the things we need to get done.
with a lawsuit on our bidding, I wouldn't recommend we
Yeah.
start to change bids again, sealed ones too.
yeah, essentially, in order to do that, we would have to reject all the bids, we'd have to reopen everything, and then we're
Good
going through it
question.
all again.
Okay.
It's a good question though, and it is a very big mess that we're dealing with, that I truly feel is of no fault of the cities at all.
And,
No, I
and
don't-
the weird thing too is like, you know, essentially, we were kind of in the same position with Advantage
Mhm.
that we maybe considered into a contract with.
Correct.
The first one's exteriors by Highmark. Now, I don't know, I sure doesn't sound like they've pushed to that.
No, they've been pretty good.
Is
for the
there a
most
way we
part.
could? With all this aside, and which is the bigger one, that could be the bigger problem, fixing the roof on the school, or would it be
I
better
just want to get it
not
done.
do that and just do the lights? Could we do
That's where I
something
was going.
like, yeah,
On certain
can we
parts,
do
but you said
something
you're-
like that?
You're not doing the original estimate is what you're doing, then somebody can come back and say, well, I could have bid that too again.
Yeah, it's not, we're not gonna be able just to, so. The lights were their own separate bid.
So but in reality, can we do the light? Could we do the lights and get the lights done with?
I would move, we do them all, because that's part of Stantec's position is they've got these vendors or these contractors holding a bid.
And the roof repair or whatever?
Well, they did it they did the RFPs all at once.
Okay.
So they submitted all the RFPs out. They needed a separate company to, of course, look at this light, somebody that specializes in that. And that would be Kilmer. Kilmer gave us probably the best bid because then you have the light piece and I wouldn't piecemeal them out. I would just say, let's get this done. While still agreeing with Ken, that it does put us in a very interesting position. However, we've had this claim tied up for almost 2 years. And there's damage to city property, there's damage to city parks. And I don't like sitting idle on something like this for this long. Especially when the league hasn't been clear with guidance as to, well, you can, or you guys can choose to kind of hold off for a little bit. And I'm like, we've held off for quite a bit at this moment in time. There's no settlement obviously coming in. It's going to court.
More damage too.
Correct. That's my point. It's gonna lead to more damage. It's gonna lead to more cost. And we're not being a good board of the taxpayer dollar or the league's trust fund that we submit to every year. So I would, yeah. Ken, we're gonna make more work for you. I'm sorry. Yeah.
I think it's good to, keep in mind, this advantage stuff, we've essentially pulled out of
Mhm.
that bid as it is. How this, entering into these contracts with these new contractors is gonna play out. And how it would impact that specific suit, if anything, I think it's gonna little, if anything.
Right.
And the league, the representative from the league and the counsel provided by the league didn't seem to have much of a concern on that
Mhm.
specific aspect. I guess when I look at the biggest concern, I guess, at this point is the unknown, with
Mhm.
the school
Right.
and how that plays out.
No, but I wholeheartedly agree. And at the same time, it's a building that is set up in city limits. It's whoever eventually takes it, even if it is a foreclosure. I mean, it's an insurance that happened while we still owned said school. And
We own the school when the hail damage happened. It's our responsibility to, in reality, fix it up to the way it was when we had it, when the hail damage happened.
I wish homeowners were like that because they never do it when their home's foreclosing,
I
but
know.
we're gonna be just kind.
And if the school would be getting, if it wouldn't happen till now,
Then they get a free run.
if it wouldn't happen till now where all this other stuff with the school isn't happening until this date,
This is.
and we would have had this all fixed already. You almost have to
I don't
start
think we
looking
gotta
at it
worry.
like
I
that.
agree with you, Sean. I don't think we gotta worry about it anymore. I think we've gotta just all steam ahead here and get it done.
Well, on that note, then I'll make a motion to approve the contracts with Exterior by Hallmark LLC and Kilmer Electric Company that were, yeah, we don't need to worry about the dates there, but back in 2024, pending, City Attorney Jansen's review before I sign them.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign. And that will carry, and you'll let Bruce know that we'll be reviewing those. Actually, we might have them already, looks like.
I think we got the
We have the,
exteriors by Highmark. I don't know if we got the
Yeah.
Fillmore.
I don't think we have anything for Kilmer Electric Co. I know that we did look at that. And for the sake of it, so we can get that contract here before spring as per their deadline on that bid. I don't know if we ever truly did make a motion to accept Kilmer, even though it was the best bid. And we all looked at them.
I know we discussed it and it surprised me because I specifically remember that we
Yeah,
weren't tabling it because we wanted to check in everything.
well, and then to secure their bid too. I'll make a motion to award the contract to Kilmer Electric Company Incorporated for the baseball lighting.
I'll second.
Motion second. Any further discussion on that? All those in favor say aye. Opposed, same sign. That carries. And then we'll let city, of course, pending city attorney Ken Jansen's review of it all with any concerns. So hopefully there's nothing too concerning. We can have that finalized and some dates scheduled and roaring to go. All right, we will move on to number 17, cleanup day.
Typically, it is the last Saturday in April.
Yes.
And I just wanted to confirm that so we can get messages out and into our newsletter.
Perfect.
So that would be April 26th.
April 26th. And more importantly, do we have any council members free to help on April 26th? Usually we all go all hands on deck for a little bit. Last year it went very well. We no longer do the curbside pickup, which is incredibly helpful.
I suppose I could help you guys.
Oh, thanks, Mark. What a trooper. So yeah, so Diane runs the tables out there to make sure it's city residents bringing their items in. We'll get the price list sent out, just mayor newsletter updates. And we do love volunteers that come out and help for a few hours.
And that was what time to what time?
8 noon, right?
That's what we've done in the past, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think then in the past years, I think it's been assembled so that with the cones,
Mhm.
people driving, I mean, it's been very,
That seems.
well, yeah, it works well.
It does.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep. And so there's one way in, one way out.
Correct.
People service will be out there.
Yes,
Yeah, usually our involvement's helping setting up cones, just helping sweep up some of the debris at the end of the day, so nobody has pop tires, and then just rearranging some stuff inside. It's really not too labor intensive, and I do have to say thanks to Mark, because he's got the magical equipment that pushes down on the dumpster and we don't have to climb on top of it. So you can't beat it. I said something nice about you today on public record.
That's
And it's recorded.
It's recorded.
before it was recorded.
No, Mark is
no-
wonderful with that clown.
No pickups, right?
none,
Nope.
No.
No. And I think that I was concerned we wouldn't have many people, but it was probably even busier because everybody was coming to that central location. And we ended up having to rebill residents because they weren't logging what they were actually putting out there, or they forgot. And it was a nightmare of driving around town trying to pick things up, and it just made more sense to have one central
I
hub.
think
So,
it's gotten a lesser dumpsters too. I think
Yeah.
people know
Yep.
that, if you're up in town, don't try it. And I think it's worked better, yes.
yep, it's worked very well. So excellent. So that will be 4/26 Saturday, 8 AM to 12 PM. And moving on, we have 18 Arbor Day.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, sir.
Does cleanup days start nuisance properties for the year?
What's that?
I mean, do we start?
Looking for nuisance properties and after.
Oh,
cleanup day.
no, not yet, because we're still working with people service on that to get an amendment in
Okay,
there.
just curious.
Unless, but if we do have any to report, we have a spreadsheet that's.
well, I
active,
think we
right?
continued it all
Yeah,
year long, I
yeah.
don't think.
They
we
never really
ever
halted.
stopped.
Well, wintertime is a challenging
Right.
one to.
But I always
for
got,
flight.
I was here lately, well, it's winter time, you can't do nothing. Well, I don't believe that, but.
Oh, no,
I
you
think-
still can.
I think
Yeah.
you had provided some information through the winter months.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
we did not stop.
Yeah, so yes, if anybody, I do have to get the links out to the new council members if they don't have that yet, but yeah, any sort of blight, you can just report, and we try to independently log any sort of concerns, and I know we're working with People Service to see if they'll do some sort of amendment that, of course, City Attorney Janice will need to look at to see if they'll include some sort of weed inspector role as part of that, because it's really a challenge to appoint council members or a council member to become the city's official weed inspector. Well, it's kind of challenging when you're that one person, that now people in town are gonna be scared to death of you, that you're out there you're gonna give them a blight, right?
That's been an issue, no doubt.
Yeah, and so we're gonna try to change that role, even if it's formality to call somebody that, the responsibility will be with Public Works to report, so. Arbor Day, so please look out. We'll do a proclamation at the next meeting. There's a lot of discussion as to what to do for our Arbor Day as part of a tree city. One of those is a mayor's proclamation every year. I'm waiting on some updated pricing from the tree committee, as well as just some general information as to where they would like to do a donated planted tree somewhere. Last year we did it at the school
Mhm.
and it worked very well. So we do have to do that as part of the Tree City application. So we'll have that on the next agenda, if you don't mind, just a proclamation for Arbor Day. And I know I have some others here too. Sean, do you want to cover your roads, good sir?
Yes, I got a list here of places and possible ideas for the city council to consider for us to get bids for repaving. So basically doing like what we did on Western,
Mhm.
grind some up and repave and then seal coating some roads. So I got a list of roads. You want me to name some of them off for
Yeah.
you? So I got Fourth, Third and First Street over on our side of town.
Yep.
And then Fourth between Western and Main. To repave those. And I also got behind around the fire station, cause I
Good.
made a comment and I drove around that before I came to city council tonight and. It would be on considered the south side behind the fire station.
Mhm.
There's that one overhead door and the other right off where the concrete is. Yeah, that's gonna be a pothole, cause it's all buckled
Yes,
and come
it's
up.
getting bad.
So my other question for that is do we rip that up and just add on to that concrete pad and make a bigger concrete pad in the back there? Since I know we did some band concert stuff back there, we
Mhm.
set up picnic tables and the barbecue and some of that stuff is out back. So I don't know if that'd be a better idea to just make a bigger concrete pad and add on to that or repave it. That's the suggestion for that.
Could you get bids on both? Cause I do think a pad might be worthy because you do have fire trucks coming in and out of there and it's gonna wear on it no matter what if we keep putting asphalt over it.
Yeah,
So-
so that's fine. You could get a bid on both. I don't know how big we wanna go. We might wanna look into that. And then I got fifth,
I could throw that concrete one.
okay, and then another one I got is Fifth Street between the recycling place and OEM. This is just an option. We don't have to do this one, but Fifth between Main and 25. If it's not too bad, it doesn't have to be done this year, but depending upon how much we are willing to spend on just re-asphalting, because I don't know how much that's gonna take by the fire station, because that's quite a bit of stuff there to do.
Right.
And then,
But at least the Fifth Street in that corner
Well,
where they turn them
that's-
trucks, yeah, that's the worst.
or
yeah.
that would be put
Or
on
half
the
of that,
agenda,
or, yeah, or.
that would be put on the agenda to be made sure it's done the
Yeah.
following year.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And then I got, just because for seal coating, I'm thinking of Pine, Grove and Cleveland. Those are the three streets over there. Around here, right? Those three
Those are
altogether,
yours, yeah.
just because then those three are all done.
Yep.
And then Parnell, who is that? Is that a state street or is that a city? Street
That's a
that,
city.
it's,
It does have a
Relatively-
designation as a county road on it too, but it is a city.
so who's
street.
supposed to take care of that?
It's us.
So that,
part of
that road's actually in really good shape yet, but I wouldn't be afraid to seal coat it and then get new lines painted on it, just so it stays that way.
Mhm. No, I would agree, and it
That
keeps
was-
it fresh.
when we did the main thing, that whole thing was resurfaced.
And then the other, because I would like to do those over here for sure, and then that was my question about Parnell. And then possibly something to look forward to is Olive Gloria,
Mhm.
and then Sixth all the way over, because then that pretty much covers most of that over there, except maybe except part of Church. And the one other street that runs through there with the cul-de-sac on.
Well, we should just get bids then on,
We could do the road by road thing like they did last year,
Yep.
and then we could maybe pick and choose.
that would be ideal, and I know we
For
save
seal
money on our
coating?
seal
seal
coating
coating,
and,
Yes.
yep, seal coating, and then a bid on some of this repave.
And then we had a couple years ago, a lady asked about her curb in front of her house, because where her water from her sump pump drains, she's got the hose out to the curb and it sunk really bad. By driving around now after the snow melted, we will have to think about maybe doing quite a bit. Cause even just on our side of town over there, if you drive by them, even some of the older streets, they eventually do settle. But
Mhm.
just by seeing all the water set,
Mhm.
it's not just gonna be a few here and there. You probably would take out quite a bit of the streets and you could probably easily pour 60 to 80 yards of concrete for just curb. So that's something might have to look into and gradually do like we do some of the roads.
We start putting that in our
Do some of the
plan for
curb
Abdo.
that as come, I
Mhm.
wouldn't worry too much about some of that down Lake Aaron, just because you're gonna have more trucks driving down there. I won't worry about that until most of that construction's done and some of the other stuff out there, even the curb by us on Western back in there. It could be replaced, but because there's no homes there, I don't know about replacing it yet until after we get the homes built, because you don't want them to wreck it again.
Right.
Anyways.
Do you
You know
wanna,
that, you could probably write that in, that would be under the builders
yeah,
to replace. So that's something
we
gonna have
can keep
to-
that in mind for budget time, yeah.
start looking into for some of the curbs, because we might get some
Perfect.
people eventually might complain about in winter, the water sitting and then you get ice buildup on roads and.
I know we went through, that's gotta be 10 years ago, already went through and did all the curbs too, all the
Yep.
spots here. I agree, that would run up some money, so I think curbs are more priority sometimes. Cause you're gonna have to do the street alongside of it if you're taking.
If you do the curb,
Yeah, so,
then you gotta rip up some of the street anyways and you gotta patch it back in. So that could be something we could look into.
So if
on
you
the-
see priority curb, you just wanna log those and like send those to.
Well,
them
if
for
we
this
are
year?
thinking about paving first, third and fourth, and then fourth between Western and Main and then if we're gonna do that, then I would wait to do the Fifth Street between Main and 25 because of the business there.
Right,
I would then we can look at the first, third and fourth ones and see what type of curb work might need to be done there. If we are gonna, if the city council says, yes, we're gonna repave
Right.
them, let's get bids in on replacing some of that curb there that's with them, so it's all done.
I just say we get all the bids in. And that way we have it for Abdo budgeting and we'll be set. We can just do it right on the table for those we don't get to. And we have a general idea what we'll pay for. And then at the next meeting, we can just decide what to move forth with, right? So I think that would get us going pretty well.
Cause yeah, if we can then I would prioritize the fire station first. To do the whatever there,
Yeah, that's a
because
need.
that's, and then the way it looked, I would go fourth and third. And then first doesn't have to be prioritized, and the fifth between Main and 25, I would try to do that next year then. We'll have to see what we come up to
I would say
With
with
the-
half of that anyway.
with the price, cause I wouldn't wanna go over what we spent last year in reality.
What about right alongside of that fire hall there?
Well, yeah, that's why we
I mean,
got
alongside, you're talking about right? by
in
the
back,
truck.
basically
What about
around the
street
whole,
that goes by the
Yep.
recycling can,
yeah.
you're talking about that one?
And you'll still pull bids for seal coating.
Yeah, still
Yep.
pull
That
bids
one I
for
think is
seal
gonna have
coat.
to be a lead service,
Perfect.
that was bad.
Yeah, cause the whole, around the whole fire station, the building on both sides, it's behind it and between the building and the railroad tracks is pretty bad. But I think that would be your priority number one, is to get that one done.
I think up to Foley's there, so I think that was redone maybe 3-4 years ago, that whole street. We'll probably butt back to that.
So we'll.
Would you like a list?
Yes, but what I'd like to make a comment, I think in the past, and Joe helped me out with this, that someone rides around with William Mueller and Son, this is what we
Yeah.
want, this is what we
I think
want,
you
so
did
that
that
we get
last
the
year.
full
Mark
list.
did.
Mark went
That
with
would be
him,
fine. Yeah,
I went with the seal coating guy,
Okay,
but I think
yeah,
for what we
okay.
got this.
And then we can pick
didn't know.
and choose, or
Yeah.
like, look at
I
everything.
went with Brian Draghi last. year.
Yes.
That's when we
Okay.
did-
Yep.
got Western involved, redid Western last.
yeah, if
Okay.
one of you are willing to do that, that'd be
Okay.
Because
amazing.
now that we just got the generalized streets and the seal coating, I think we actually got the worst of the ones.
Yep,
Yes.
yep, we did.
All we're gonna probably have to do is just give him the street and then he'll go out and measure it and come back.
I love it.
Well, I think last year, didn't Pearson give us like like a 4-year plan?
No, we just hit the ones that were never done.
Right,
first, And then it was up to us to figure
Okay.
out.
Okay.
Cause what the amount of roads we had done last year was almost, I wanna say, what he quarter to a third of the town.
correct.
So if we can try to figure out to get another third done or a quarter, then that would put us by 4 years comes around, it should be done. Give or take,
Okay.
like the development on Western, it should be okay. And we're trying to hold off on doing anything in the industrial park for resealing until it's built up. Cause we don't wanna
Yeah.
throw the money away on
Mhm.
doing something that's gonna get ripped
All in
up.
all, I think we've done very well. I think our streets, other than a few things.
We're caught up on
Yeah.
them for sure.
So for the marking of the, curb, if we're gonna get something priced out. If people services, I don't know. Can just go to these couple of these streets and just, all you'd have to do is put a spray paint. A line down the curb here and here, and you point the arrows in what needs to be replaced. That'd be easiest then for when the person comes out to measure it. So they know how much to measure up, so we can get an accurate bid.
People service have,
I don't know if people services would do something like that, that's why I'm asking.
I'm so confused. Do what?
So-
having people service look at the
So
curb.
rather
Yeah.
than you going around with Pearson? Is that
Well,
what you're
no,
saying?
for
Or-
doing the curb, the concrete curb.
Oh,
Pearson's doesn't do concrete curb.
And Miller's, I think probably hire out some.
Right,
Yeah.
okay,
So so a lot of it, for me hauling and seeing how it's done,
uh-huh.
the city always has somebody go out. They'll spray paint a line here and spray paint a line here and then point an arrow to the section that they want ripped out.
Okay,
So then they'll go around and they'll measure that. And then
Oh,
they'll get
I
an
got you.
estimate. So let's say this piece is only a 3-foot section, but then this piece here they're replacing is 10 feet. Then they go out and measure it and then they'll give us an estimate.
It'll be a lineal foot anyway.
Yeah, on the lineal foot, but then we know what's getting replaced and
Mhm.
I don't know if people services or I'm just gonna use it, curb masters, if that company comes out and they do it on their own. Or what, I don't know how that's all been done. Before,
Well, we can ask our contractors that we typically get bids from and just see what they prefer to and go that route. I think that'd be okay. And then if people service need it, we'll just have you check with Diane to make sure and we can send someone out. I don't know, they'd probably mark it with a cone if anything. I don't know if they.
Well,
Well,
might be a
I
lot of
think
homes.
because
I know,
you're
that's what I'm
defining
wondering.
specifics, it's
Yeah.
like a person on the street committee would know exactly where to go, where like
Well,
people
it's
service.
pretty
would
easy to
be-
go now because you see all the water.
I suppose, yeah.
Exactly, but we don't know what's holding all that water either. Is it draining, not
It's-
draining?
It's not draining because everything's settled, so it's not going to the curb, it's not going to the,
Right, but
to the
does
catch
anything
basins at all.
shift at any point to?
well, yeah, that's why it's all not draining anymore, because all the ground shifted. So that has to be replaced and raised back up, and so it gets all the right slope.
So you're just saying to mark it now while the water's still there
Yeah.
and not like when we're ready for the bidding. That is
So,
understood.
or it can be
Okay.
marked now and you might be able to get them
Right.
out in a bid in a week and the paint marks will still be there.
So what you're stating is anything where there's water sitting, to spray paint that area.
That curb, if it's the
Is that-
curb sinking, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, because all you gotta do is put a line down on
Yep.
each side, but then you point an arrow in the
Yep,
direction
inward
you
arrow.
want replaced.
Yep.
From one end to the, just from them two spray paint lines, so you know, oh, it's from this line to this line. They want that replaced in the middle and they measure out however long it is.
Yeah, we'll check with people service, and then if they're not, would you be willing to throw out some paint?
I can try.
Very good. I like it. Okay, and then anything else on streets, good sir?
No, that's it.
Sweet, good work. That's gonna be nice to have those done. All right. So we do have a request, temporary banner placed at Veterans Park, Sibley East Wolverines Boosters, Inc., the Booster Bash Committee. They have a banner they would like to hang in Veterans Park, Highway 525 corner for the upcoming Booster Bash event on April 5th. I do not see an issue with it, provided they follow state statute for signage with the right setbacks. Does anybody else see an issue with that?
No.
Okay. All right.
The state's pretty good about whether,
Yes, they
I
are.
know about that.
Yes, we know about that. Sometimes even if it's not a violation.
Yes, exactly.
All right, so if council's okay with that, do you want to vote on that, just to be safe?
Yes, I do.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve the hanging of that banner, provided it's taken down after April 5th.
I'll second.
Motion second, any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Opposed, same sign, that carries. Quick update on some park damage. Lions Park, you'll notice giant ruts that lead all the way to the archery park. Our cameras have paid off. We found the owner via the license plate on his vehicle. The sheriff's office went out and talked to the individual, and I don't, well, city attorney Ken Jansen will be getting the police report with charges, but there's a couple that were violated. One is that the individual resides outside of the city, not in the township, like in another town, and used the archery park without a waiver. There's some DVS things there, but more importantly, he caused significant ruts into that lawn that's gonna need a lot of repair. And it would easily be over $1,000 worth of damage. Now, sheriff's office went out and talked to him, sounded like he was legit and very apologetic. He actually turns out to be a landscaper and said if we don't press charges, he would be absolutely willing to work with Diane and whomever to flatten that out, fix it, reseed it, and get it taken care of, and he promised to sign a waiver next time. So, Ken, do you need anything from us if at this point, I mean, you can work with me and give me a buzz if you
Yeah.
need anything?
I'll wait for reports to come up.
Yeah,
I'll review it. I'll see if it's appropriate for charges.
okay,
It sounds like there may be other things to
Yes.
deal with on it.
yeah,
So he may be coming to see us anyways at court, but.
okay. So we'll hold off on chatting with him until you get that report in and we can
Yeah.
just work together, but. All right, so we'll leave that up to the discretion of Ken at this moment in time, if everybody's okay with that.
You know, it's just the idea of double whammy.
Yep,
First of all, just put somebody that you knew you were doing what you were doing.
well, you do it right by the sign, yeah, yeah.
Whatever, you deal with it.
But it just goes to show that, you know, we wouldn't have been able to find out who caused the damage. At least now we have a chance of getting it repaired at no cost to the taxpayer at this point, so. That makes me happy inside.
Yep, we got them cameras, right?
All right, and lastly, you can call me the chicken guy, but I think at the price of eggs and a lot of young residents in town talking about it, I would like to draft an amendment to ordinance 2007-03 for the next council meeting to look at amending our ordinance to include the use of backyard chickens. Do we have any discussion here on that? Opposed, against it, blah, 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 because we'll bring it up at the next meeting with edits applied. And I know Mark and I have been privy to this one before, so.
You know how I feel.
I know Mark's feelings, but for the rest of you, provided there's no roosters and there has to be a means to apply with City Hall for an animal license, that's no different. There has to be some sort of mechanism for rat-proof containers for said chicken feed and a limit on hens. And that's where I'm sitting with it now, is that it does need to be a solid ordinance. I know City Attorney Ross Arneson and I worked together, got one amended, looked at various cities, and we truly are one of the few literally in this region and across the state that do not allow them, to be honest with you. And I hear that a lot from new families coming into town, that they're very interested in doing it and their kids want to do it. And I heard it endlessly since the cost of eggs is like $6 to $8 a dozen, so.
Off topic, why are the eggs so expensive anyways?
Well, because of bird flu. And it takes us, no, I have no idea, but
A congressperson got like over 1 million chickens destroyed because they thought there was bird flu in them and there actually wasn't any.
yeah, there is a requirement to kill them. Yeah, there is some requirements there to euthanize if it's in the area, even if one tests positive, the whole flock has to go. And you see that in a lot of caged ones. I can't think of a instance that has happened in a backyard chicken community, because there's so few. However, the benefits alone of getting rid of ticks, other insects and more is pretty awesome to see too with the research that's out there. And I've talked to a lot of cities and they really don't have issues with it unless they break the law and bring in a rooster. And if that's the case, that's
No,
to be enforced by the ordinance, right? And Ken, I just wanted to check before I bring this up at the next one for a vote to amend it. We do not need to do the first readings, second readings, or anything like that, just a publishing in the paper, since it's amendment to an ordinance, not a new ordinance.
No, we'll still have to go. through
Is it still the first, second? Okay,
We'll still have to go
Okay.
through it.
so we will put, amend ordinance 2007-03 on the next agenda for us to vote on, and also leave it open for the public to come in and comment, good, bad, or otherwise. So I would like to see comments, and if people don't feel like coming to City Hall for it, they are welcome to send an email to City Hall and we can read them out loud too. So I think that would be our ideal scenario. And we have the one and only Commissioner Megan Way. How are you, good sir?
Good.
Good. We were just finishing up. Do you want to have the floor for a sec?
Yeah, you'll be
All
fine.
right, we'll let you do an intro.
Hey, how are you?
Not too bad, how about you?
Not too bad. Nice to see your smiling face.
Oh, of course, you know that.
I'm Keith Hennon, a newbie commissioner. Got into a lot of work.
Been busy?
Yeah, it's been busy. From one meeting to the next, whatever. Anyway, just wanted to touch base a little bit and, so here's this is what's going on with the road system throughout Sibley County. County Road 6 should be done by the 1st of October, and that's gonna be a gorgeous road. We've had a bunch of meetings on that over the last couple days. And it'll also describe, we're gonna do a lot of, repair work to various roads around the county, that kind of thing. So that's all cool. And then, but this sort of gives you an idea of the duration of those road construction scenarios. So it's sort of a nice little map there.
Nice.
I lived in Carver County for 30 years. And this is, I always say it's like the Wild West out here. Way more inviting and compared to the other counties that I've known all my life. But anyway, we're just plugging away over there. It's, the group of commissioners, that we have, are, some really good guys. They're very conscientious and, they're trying to really follow through on our, just to make sure that we're being accountable for the money and that kind of thing. So I think they really spend it quite wisely, what I can tell. And so our HHS, Sibley County, Human Services Building that's in, actually is quite a beautiful operation there, which really supports our residents that have needs that, so we can actually take care of them appropriately and so on. And other than that, I mean, we have budgeted, we had a 2% increase in our levy. It is because we have budgeted in for this coming year, a bunch of bridges and more, quite an extensive amount of road construction and repaving, resurfacing and that kind of thing. So, so basically that's the long and short that I have. I mean, if there's one thing I can say is that when you walk in a Sibley County courthouse, it's a pretty inviting place to go. The people there are very, very nice.
Unless you committed a crime, I'd assume.
Well, yeah, there's that. Luckily, I don't know.
Right, I hear you.
Maybe back in the old days. Yeah.
No, we always appreciate commissioners coming out and just touching base with us, so, yeah. if
Yeah, I
anybody-
mean, I won't avoid you guys, if you guys have questions or, that kind of thing and so on, I'm here.
Yeah,
I just live a hop skip about 6 miles from there, so it's literally very close. Be happy to pop in from time to time to full meetings, but tonight this is the third stop, so. But anyway.
no, that's perfect. So yeah, if you wouldn't mind sticking around for just a couple minutes, see if anybody has questions for you, that would be great. And we'll have Commissioner Hennon camp out. That's right. So that's the update on the animal ordinance, and so we can move that into more public discussion at the next meeting. So please seek out feedback from residents, et cetera, and invite them here if they're, or write a letter if they're opposed. For it, indifferent, send them to City Hall. We can read them out no matter what. So with that said, yeah, that's almost a record here. 8:33 PM.
And I can get you some model ordinances.
And Ken, that'd be wonderful to look at any recent changes, because this was probably back in 2016. So it's been a little while.
Cool.
Been that long?
Yeah,
Good grief.
real well.
I know. All right, so I will make a motion to adjourn. Motion second. Any further discussion?
Give me a second.
Yep, Mark seconded that one. All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, and meeting's adjourned at 8:33 PM.